Hi, Dr. Cruz. This is Jessica Clark from your Music 240 class. And for my final exam, I think to best cover what I have learned through this course and how I will use this course in my future, the best way to answer those questions is by telling you my music life story. I started as a little fourth grader in 8th grade, and I'm a clarinet player, and I really don't remember picking the clarinet at all. I have always been musically talented, I guess, where my mom played piano, and she's one of those weird cases where if she doesn't keep up with it, she ends up forgetting how to read music enough to sit there, and every good boy does fine. And she really struggles with it sometimes, which I find very odd, and a lot of people don't believe, but she's one of those very odd cases. And I remember being very young and sitting there at the piano, and she would take my little finger and move me across the piano, playing Christmas songs and anything. So then when I got to 4th grade, I got to pick whatever instrument I wanted. I don't think I actually picked the clarinet. I very vaguely remember wanting to play the oboe, and then I opened up the case of what I got, and instead was a clarinet, and I kind of remember saying, this isn't what I wanted, but I don't know how to change it, so I guess I'm just going to play the clarinet. So ever since then, I've always been ahead of my game. I've always been a big fish in a small pond playing. I never played a third part. I never played a bottom part until I got to college. I've always been on either second or first part, and I've never actually struggled in music. When I picked the clarinet, it was a lot of fun, and I remember going against the piano and like, ooh, these sound kind of the same, and playing things by ear, and I had a very strong musical ear. And there were adults that asked if I had perfect pitch, and I had no idea what that was, which I don't believe in perfect pitch now, but thinking as a little kid, like hearing all these, wow, you must be really good at all these different things, it made me think that I could have a future in this one. I just wanted to play for fun, and I always wanted to play for fun. It was about 7th grade after I met Mr. Babiars, my middle school band director. I met him in my 5th grade. It was his first year, along with my first year in middle school, and he was my new band director. And the years went really well with him, and he would give me clarinet lessons after school, and I learned a lot of things from him in both life lessons, where he was there for me a lot when I had trouble. There was even a time I didn't make the volleyball team in 7th grade, and during general music, he was my teacher, and I ended up breaking down and crying in general music because I didn't make the volleyball team, and he was the one that was there for me because he had been a solid teacher for the last 2 years, and he knew me, and he got me through not making the volleyball team. And then it was about 7th grade, I remember thinking how fun it was to be playing music, and I knew I wanted to do it for the rest of my life, but it's also when my sister started to learn how to play the flute, I wanted to learn how to play flute too, so I started teaching myself how to do it. She got really mad at me, of course, because it was her thing, but I wanted to be included in it, and I wanted to learn all these different things, and I would play my friends' trumpets, and I would play trombone, and my cousin played violin, and I tried all of these different things, and I was enjoying all of them, all while I was still increasingly getting good at the one instrument that I picked, and what I really wanted to be good at, which was the clarinet. And so through all of that was my aha moment of, I want to be a teacher. And so I talked to Mr. Babiars about this, and he was really supportive of it and everything. And so we would do kind of like lesson buddy kind of things in 5th grade, or with the 5th graders, as your older 7th and 8th grade, where you would get somebody from one of the lower bands, and you would get to help them out. You'd kind of give them a lesson, but it's like you'd help them on their band music. You'd help them with what you could for only have been playing for a couple of years. And that inspired me a lot I really like doing this. I really like teaching them, and I really like sharing my talent and with what I've learned, and I really like sharing it with others. So then when I got to high school, we did a lot more with working with the middle schoolers, where we would do tours, and we would do tours to the middle schools, and we get to show what we could do, and we get to show off, like, this is a clarinet, this is what I would get to do, and I enjoyed doing that, and I enjoyed answering all the questions everybody had, and it's like, they only know a clarinet because that's what Squidward plays, or just nobody knows what a clarinet is. They don't know it from an oboe. Nobody knows the difference. So teaching them that difference and teaching them what makes the clarinet special was really exciting for me. And also, while I learned more about the trumpet or the trombone or just what other friends were teaching during these student teaching kind of things while going to the middle schools. So then throughout high school, music was also one of the things where I always did, and it was always a constant. There was high school friends are never real friends. And because of that, I always fell back on music, and I always had clarinet with me, and I always got to have that one constant and that light at the end of the tunnel. And I always looked forward to going to band. I always looked forward to even just hanging out in the music department and listening to the other ensembles, and will I be able to get to play in jazz band, which I picked up saxophone my freshman year just because I wanted to play in a jazz band and they wouldn't let clarinets in. So I said, okay, I'll learn a saxophone. So I had a saxophone thrown at me, and lo and behold, I was in jazz band now. And then I remember asking for so much help on what is this thing, what do I do? A lot of the fingerings are the same, but it's still so different, but I still got to learn. And jazz band would do the same thing, where we toured to the middle schools and played what we knew and showed off, this is how you play your blues progressions, this is how you improv, those kind of things. And being able to teach that was still very cool because I was sharing with what I was good at, and because I was sharing it, I just wanted to teach even more. And then I had such a strong connection with my middle school band director, Mr. Baviers, that I would go back there after school a couple times a week, and I would work with some of the young clarinetists there. And the more I've learned throughout college, the more he trusts me going back and working with other instruments, which is a lot of fun too, where now when I go back and visit, he lets me handle his whole class. And if he needs to go run off and do something, he trusts me with his class, and I can teach them either a little game or I can do something with them in the 5 minutes that Mr. Baviers is gone, and that he lets me be their teacher for a little bit, which is a lot of fun to me, and it's that real world, I'm going to be a teacher. But it was also music in high school was, all of my friends were in the all honors classes. They were all AP classes. They were doing homework all day, every day. When there's me who was in the core classes, and I didn't care as much. I didn't need to, my logic was, I knew going into high school I wanted to be a band director, so when my counselor said, oh, you need a third year of Spanish, very naive me said, I'm not going to take a third year of Spanish, I only need 2 to graduate high school, and I'm going to be a band director, and you don't need Spanish to teach band, or to teach music, so I'm just not going to take another year. So here I am, a junior in college, and still need to take Spanish 3, but that's a whole nother issue. But I didn't struggle in school. I did well with the core classes that I was in. It was I would have struggled for a C in AP and honors classes, or I could have gotten an easy A in the core classes, and I went for the A because it would look better. And it's I'd rather have an A instead of working my butt off like all my friends all day, every day. So through all of that, I still got to teach, and I still got to have fun with my clarinet all the time, and I was always playing, I was always doing something, I was always challenging myself, doing something new, taking more lessons, and the more by the time I got to senior year of high school, I took freshman band, because our ranking went freshman band, then you would either audition into symphonic band or wind ensemble, which wind ensemble was the top one, and since my sophomore year, I had been in wind ensemble, so I wanted to play with the freshmen and help the freshmen out, so I had a free period, so I would always go be in freshman band with all the freshmen, and I would help them out, and I had a lot of fun doing that, and it also taught me how different everybody is, which I remember once it came time for school music auditions here at University of Illinois. Everybody talks about how their audition was with, their interview with Dr. Nichols was. I know mine was different because everybody says that, I like band, I want to teach band. I didn't say any words like that when she asked, one of the questions she asked that I knew was which was the key, why do you want to be a music teacher? It was, what have you learned through seeing kids so far? and my answer was that everybody's different. And being 17, 18 years old at that time, answering that question that way, I knew that that was not like a textbook answer, but it was a really good answer. And Dr. Nichols really liked it too, and she agreed with me about how true it really is. And here I am today, a junior in college, and I still believe that in every case you get, it's somebody's going to be different. You can have 7 trombone students, and every single one of them is going to know something different. They're going to learn something different. They're going to have different ways of learning. And 240 really opened my eyes up to that too. That's one of the things that I knew back senior year of high school when I had my interview with Dr. Nichols, that I was still right with that answer. 240 really confirmed that for me. It was also, 240 has also really opened my eyes that I am doing what I want to do. I'll still have that, really like, oh my gosh, is this what I want to be doing? I'm not sure. Like, everybody has those freak out moments. Mine probably aren't as often as everybody else, but I still have my parents asking, like, are you going to change your major? Are you still sure you want to do this? You've known you wanted to do this since you were 12 years old. Like, that's really weird. Like, nobody has anything. When my sister, who's a senior in high school now, she doesn't even want to go to college. She has no interest in anything like that. So we're very different, and my parents always laugh about how I didn't set them up for how much of a struggle my sisters were going to be, because I've known since I was so young about what I wanted to do. But I really know what I want to do, and I can't wait until I get out into that real world, because I still am afraid that I'm going to get up to that podium and I'm going to get laughed at, or I'm going to be taken advantage of because they know I'm new, which 240 has helped some with that, where it teaches you to have that more confidence in setting up your classroom, and not necessarily like what your curriculum is going to be, because what is curriculum for band and how are you going to grade band, which was one of the things that we really talked about in the class. But being up there, having that stage presence, and being able to make sure my points come across, and that's something I really want to make sure that comes across with all of my students. I really do think I really want to be a music teacher that is also a role model. I don't want to be like that cool teacher where like they don't care, or just things just happen and it doesn't matter. Because we all have the teacher that I don't even know how to say it. They don't give a shit, basically. But I want to be there emotionally and physically for my students, but not in the weird barrier crossing way where it seems too much, where I want to be like Mr. Babiars, where somebody doesn't make the volleyball team, I can be there for them, and they can trust me to talk to them, especially without knowing what a home situation's like, or what's going on, or who they can talk to, or if someone's having friend issues, I want to be there to help with issues outside of band as well. It's also really rewarding to see what all of my kids will be able to do through music as well. We're watching them grow from, this is a half note, this is an eighth note, this is a quarter note, to expressing themselves, where talking about what grade do I want to teach, I have no idea. There's so many rewarding things about both, where if I were to teach middle school, orchestra, band, choir, any general music, watching them learn such little ideas and letting music be that thing where they can talk about it, where they can have that mindset where it's something different, where it's an escape. I've always thought of music as an escape, where it shouldn't have to be a job, where it's not like I have to go to math class, I have to do these division problems. Music is that elective, and it's a privilege, and the more you like it, the more you're going to be able to express yourself with all of it, which is always how it's been for me. And watching to see those, if I could see kids that have that aha moment, that realize how much fun they're actually having, where I can be that teacher that's where I'm an outlet, where they get to do whatever they want, and I mean, I don't want to, like, end up kicking anybody out of band because, like, they're being too free in my classroom. Like, that's not going to happen. But in a sense of, I get to be their fun, the way that you see real little kindergarten, first graders, how important general music is for them and how much you see them enjoy general music, because we got to play the xylophones today. Because of that, that's what I want my classroom to be. I don't want it to be a drag. I don't want it to be something boring. Which a lot of the things we've learned in 240 has helped me with that, especially the big wheel that we talked about where everybody's come from and connecting all of that. That was one of the big eye openers for what I think I will carry into my classroom. Just because you can be such a closed-minded music teacher and you don't know what Brahms 4 is, like, what's wrong with you? Like, that can't happen in a music. Like, I still couldn't tell you what pieces are off the top of my head. You say, like, Mazlanka 4. I don't know what that is. I could look it up and then be like, oh yeah, I've heard this, but I can't, like, name things off the top of my head, which that's not the goal of a music class. It's not reciting off random facts about Tchaikovsky was born in this year and died in this year because of this disease or however he died, that kind of thing. But it's not a music history class, and it's also not there to only have fun. It's also a learning experience where you can learn so many different things through music. We're talking about the one student story. The girl I interviewed was 10 years old, and the way she described music and why you should have it in music class is, she says it opens you up. And I said, what does it mean by opening you up? And she's like, I don't know, it just opens you up. And she moved her hands like this. And then she started bringing in culture, which is a really big thing too, where whenever you play holiday music, it's like, okay, usually it's like Christian music and everybody knows the classic Christian tunes, but there's usually a Hanukkah tune thrown in there somewhere, like the Eighth Candle. That was it was a Hanukkah holiday song that we played in band for me, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize that this is, like, inspired off of this, and this is kind of what this culture's like, which is what the little girl was talking about as well. And she brought up the dreidel song for Hanukkah. Even though it's one of those really little simple tunes that you play in 5th grade, it still gives you the idea of this is what's in another culture, or the different instrumentation that you can have around the world. She talked about that too, which I thought was really big for only being 10 years old. But she had some really great points about what's important in music, which talking to her really helps me with what I want to incorporate in my classroom as well. I really did enjoy being in 240. It was definitely an eye-opener. It really coincided with EPS 201. I was taking that at the same time, and a lot of the lectures were very similar to each other. We're talking about classroom presence, and a lot of, why can't I think of the word? Just a lot of the lectures just coincided with each other and they bounced each other's ideas off about, like, what you want to teach and how you're going to teach it, and thinking about diversity in the classroom. A lot of the lectures went with each other on that. But I understand why it's an introduction class, because it really gives you that if you didn't know what you wanted to do as a teacher, or if you had a very closed mind of, I'm going to be a band director for high school in the suburbs of Illinois, the class definitely opened up your eyes to, wow, I might not only be a band director, I might not only do high school, I might not only do these things, but it really helps you discover all of these things. And it really makes me feel prepared for the next education classes that I do get to take, especially for music. And then I think I've answered all the questions that you have, and I have enjoyed your class, so thank you for doing such a great job teaching it. And I could say sorry for being a distraction with Gloria in class, but she was a lot of fun, and we had a lot of fun in class. But I hope you have a really good break, and we will see you around sometime soon.